this is Calli, and this is my co-host Emily.
And this is Wellness Round the Yough.
We're here today at Connellsville Counseling in Connellsville. We're going to be talking to Dr. Boyer about mindfulness and how she incorporates it into her practice with her clients.
Yep, in her everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. So we're really excited, and we can't wait to talk to her.
Stay tuned.
Hey there, so we're here with Dr. Boyer from Connellsville Counseling. We're going to talk to her today about her practice and a lot about mindfulness and how she incorporates that into her practice. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad that you both came to see me.
Yes,
Thanks.
we are too.
Thanks for having us.
So if you could tell us first off kind of how you got into this lifestyle. I know you do yoga, I know you like to run, and I know you practice mindfulness a lot even in your personal life. So just kind of how did that come about?
Okay, so my undergrad degree is in art therapy. And so art therapy has a very large holistic component. And one of the reasons why I like mindfulness is because in the mental health system and within the medical model, we're very disease focused. And mindfulness is one of the ways where we can really instill wellness. And so I started thinking a lot about it, incorporating it into my practice because of my art therapy background. And then when I did my doctoral program, I actually researched holistic techniques. That was part of my dissertation. And I was always finding ways to kind of incorporate mindfulness, meditation, holistic techniques into my treatment and work with clients because, like I said, it's a great way to instill wellness.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. So tell us about mindfulness. What is mindfulness to
I was
you?
going to say, what is it?
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people really know what it is.
Right. So actually, a lot of Eastern philosophies incorporate mindfulness into their spiritual practices and also their ways of being well. In Western culture, we don't use a lot of mindfulness because we're very, very focused on goals. Mm-hmm. We're focused on multitasking. We're focused on doing things quickly.
And results.
We're very focused on results
Yes.
that we don't stop and enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
And what mindfulness is it's an awareness. It's a complete awareness of the here and now, of the present moment, of being with whatever we're taking in the present moment in a very neutral way. Because all we really have is the present moment. We cannot manipulate things that are coming in the future. We cannot change things that happened in the past. The only thing we can do is really be in the present moment. So in a lot of ways, it's very empowering that the only thing we have to worry about is the present moment. But that can also be somewhat anxiety provoking as well.
It can be scary, yeah.
Yeah.
To just be thinking, this is what all I have here right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you really have to be comfortable with yourself, or become comfortable with yourself to
be able
really
to just
be able to be mindful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always tell people when I'm teaching them about mindfulness to expect a little bit of anxiety early on because we are completely asking the individual to let go. And that's a very difficult thing to do. But the cool thing about mindfulness, it's a practice. And just like, do either one of you speak a foreign language or play an instrument or do something?
I speak 10 different foreign languages.
But you work out a lot, right?
Yes.
And what's your favorite thing to do when you work out?
I like to run a lot, but I also like weights, but I do like to run.
Okay, so the first time you decided to run, how did it go?
I think it wasn't very long. No,
It- you
it wasn't very
didn't
long.
go
If
very
you was
long?
in soccer in high school and it was awful, I hated it.
Right, so
Yeah.
you probably felt like you were going to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Huffing and puffing,
Yeah.
right? But did you keep at it?
Yes, only because
Yeah.
I had to. Now I do it because I want to. But yes.
And now
kept going.
you can run pretty far without stopping,
Yes,
right? So mindfulness is the same thing. It's a practice. The first time we try it, it is not easy. It takes some time to build that practice. So the more we keep at it, it's going to be frustrating at first, but the more we keep at it because of neuroplasticity in our brains, we can put these practices into place.
Yeah. And I don't think, I listen to a lot of podcasts and things. There's really not, as long as you're trying, I feel like there's not a wrong way to be mindful as long as you're trying. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of
absolutely.
ways to incorporate it too, right? Like food, mindful eating.
Absolutely. Mindful eating. Yeah, there's tons of research.
And that's kind of
on
an
mindful eating.
easy way to start out with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you don't mind, I just want to talk about the 3 zones of awareness.
Yeah, of course.
And it plugs into what you're
Yeah.
saying. So again, mindfulness and the word awareness can be used interchangeably. And we have, and for the viewers, if you just kind of bear with me and focus on the different zones of awareness as I'm talking about them. The first zone of awareness is bodily awareness. That's anything we feel in our body. So it can be hunger pains, it can be pains in general, it can be an itch, it's just anything with our bodies. The second zone of awareness is anything we take in through our five senses. That's hearing my voice right now, feeling the chair supporting your body, taking in a scent, taking in the scenery around us. It's anything through the five senses. The third zone of awareness is fantasy, and that's anything that we think about. Most people spend the majority of their time in fantasy. And the fantasy, the fantasy zone of awareness gets us into trouble a lot of the time
because can't turn it off.
We can't turn it off. It steals us out of the present moment. Yeah. So as I'm talking, did you notice your awareness was shifting to each zone as I was talking about it? A lot of us forget that we are in complete control of our awareness. I like to think of it sort of like a searchlight, like a lighthouse. Wherever we throw our awareness, that's where we are. So you mentioned eating. A lot of times, unfortunately, we spend so much time in the fantasy zone of awareness. We go into autopilot. We don't pay attention to what we're doing. People can sit and eat an entire bag of chips while they're watching TV because they're not paying attention.
And not even remember it.
And not even remember
or taste it. You don't even taste it.
Right. So if we stay in that zone of awareness where we're taking everything in our senses and really taste food, pay attention to how it feels in our mouth, smell it, make it an experience, then we are outside of the fantasy zone of awareness and our sympathetic nervous system's not being activated. That's the stress response. And we're actually enjoying things.
That's what I was going to say. You can actually enjoy what you're doing,
We're
being there.
Building up that reserve of positive experiences, which can help buffer depression, anxiety, all kinds of negative mental health concerns.
Which I think really ties into being present in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, there's like a misconception with what that means. Like I've heard a lot of like negative about that, like, oh, you're in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't really understand that you're breathing, you're taking a, and there really is such a need for that today.
Right. Because life is stressful, and why put ourselves in our head in a stressful situation before we have to be there?
Yeah.
And if we just kind of go with the flow, then things that we're dreading just kind of come and go without all of that attempt to control and resist, and we make things a lot worse than they have.
Overthink it.
A nice thing I learned a long time ago was that, because I always think like, okay, things are gonna get better, this is gonna, and I think that's part of manifesting too, which comes in with that. But now I say things are good. Like right now, things are better. Things are good.
Yeah.
This is here. This is happening. To try to live in the present and not stress myself out about the future, because my anxiety will just go crazy if I'm always living in the next step.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So how do you incorporate that mindfulness into your practice and with your clients?
So there's actually several ways you can incorporate mindfulness into your practice as a counselor or a psychologist. And I teach an entire class on mindfulness to graduate students in counseling. And a lot of them come to class with the expectation they're going to learn how to use these techniques with clients. And what we actually end up doing for the majority of the class is cultivating a mindful practice for ourselves. Because if you're stuck in your head, you're not listening. And listening is actually the biggest part of therapy.
Yeah.
So by being mindful in the therapy room, then I can really be present for my clients.
Yes.
You cannot build a therapeutic relationship if you're not present. You can't listen if you're not present. And so, number one, I have a practice myself, like you mentioned. I really enjoy yoga. I like to take a mindful minute. I'm constantly checking in with my breath so that I can be more present for people, so that I can listen. But some of the other things that I like to teach my clients about mindfulness is just taking a mindful moment to sort of check in. You know, when we wake up in the morning, one thing that I do like to do is I take a moment to just be, because the day is so busy. And once we start thinking about everything we have to do, everything starts swirling through our head.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah,
It really is.
it's just like shaking a snow globe. And everything's swirling. And if everything's sort of swirling around in there, can we think clearly? Can we be our best selves? No. So mindfulness and taking a mindful moment is like setting that snow globe down so that everything settles in the bottom and we can be clear-headed. So a lot of times it's me just teaching people how to take those mindful moments, how to cultivate their awareness. It might be using some type of deep breathing. It might be finding a way to meditate throughout the day, or it could be, like you mentioned earlier, a more active meditation. When we're walking,
I was going to say running.
when we're running, when we're taking everything in and staying out of our heads, that's mindfulness. Because our heads can be a dangerous place to be sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
I can't even tell you the things that I go on that I could like catastrophize in my head, and the things that go on in my head. And when I stop myself, and one time in particular, I was having a really rough day, and I went for a walk and tried to genuinely be mindful of what I was doing just on that walk, feeling things, hearing things, feeling how my body went, and I felt
Smelling it.
yes. After that walk, I felt like, okay, now I can
You were
figure out what I need to
recharged.
do. Yes.
Yeah.
I have to like take my shoes off and
Feel
put
the
them
ground.
on the grass.
Yeah.
I mean that's usually if I'm like feeling really a little crazy. That's what I do, because otherwise I feel like I can't get grounded.
Right, yeah. So you find yourself really stuck in your heads. The cool thing is we always have our five senses to ground us. So you could pick something to look at around you, take something in. I do, in the class that I teach, we do a meditation where I have the students look at an object for 5 minutes and really take it in. And see something, because
Yeah.
a lot of times we go into places and we've been into maybe a store or some other public place 20 times and we can't even describe it. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're on our
Absolutely.
phones, we're in our heads,
Yep.
we're not paying attention to things.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is a way that you would suggest, like one thing, if somebody wanted to start trying to be more mindful, where do you think that they should start?
Well, there's a lot of good books out there. If anyone is interested, John Kabat-Zinn is the founder. I
have that
know
book,
you
yeah.
have that book. Yeah, he is the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction, and there are a lot of books out there that kind of take you through step by step. I think it's important to remember that this is a practice.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, just starting to cultivate that awareness, like checking in, seeing if, are you in the here and now right now, or are you stuck in your heads? That's a good way to start. You can pick times in your day, set an alarm on your phone, and when it goes off, that's your time to take a mindful moment. It doesn't have to be long. It can just be 5 seconds of checking in with your breath.
There are also some good mindfulness apps.
Yes, yeah, thanks for bringing
Yeah,
that up. Yeah.
which I've downloaded a few, and they
Yeah.
remind you throughout the day.
Right,
What are
right.
some mindfulness apps?
There's
that you-
one called Headspace. That's one of the more popular ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's several apps out there. I can't recall the specific names, but if you do a search, there's several out there that have really good quotes.
I
that
think
put things into
Aura,
perspective.
AURA,
Yeah.
is a good one. That's the one that reminds me throughout the day, and the other one's May, but I may have turned my notifications off. But I like that one, and a little quote will pop up, and it'll say, "It's time for you to take a minute for yourself," or "It's
Yeah.
time for you to take a breath." And even just reading that quote is nice because it brings me
Yeah,
back.
that's really so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Especially because we are just so busy all the time. It's kind of terrible that we have to set an alarm
Yeah.
to take a minute, but it's true. And like, so do you start your day then with, like, when you get out of bed, do you have your phone right there? Like,
So
that's where I struggle with, because I
Yeah.
try to like put it up, but it's usually the first thing I look at.
Grab for. Yeah. So I have such a busy day because I work here. I'm also teaching. I serve in a lot of different roles. And I used to I would wake up in the morning and start thinking about my day and then not want to get out of bed because it was such a
So
busy
crazy.
day.
Yeah.
And so I made a pact with myself that I'm not going to go anywhere in my day. I'm going to let my day come to me. And if I have 5 minutes to be comfortable in bed, then I'm going to soak up those 5 minutes and just be sort of calm, because, like, going back to that metaphor of the snow globe, I want to be calm and clear-headed as I go through
How
the
you
day.
start the day, yeah. That's a really great idea.
That is
Yeah.
a great idea.
We need to take that into account,
I know.
I think.
I mean, I think especially too, like, for like a mom, like I.
Yes, for sure.
When I'm not very, at the end of the day, when my
You're totally
brain,
frazzled,
I'm
yeah.
completely frazzled.
Is there a best time of day to do this, or any time of
I
day?
think any time of day, and it works with the individual person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
if you're an early person, maybe I wish I was an early. Every night I go to bed, I'm like, I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna do it, and then I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's good to just take stock at the end of the day. Was I mindful today? And if you weren't, you always have tomorrow.
To just try again. That's why it's a practice. Yeah. So you said that you teach. Is that just for graduate students? So if there's somebody watching now that is interested and they want it to maybe turn into mindfulness, they can. It would be something that. What school do you teach at?
I teach at Chatham University. Yeah.
So maybe if they had an undergraduate now and they wanted to look into a more mindful,
program. That there is that program. But like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different books out there.
Yeah.
I think another way to start is to yoga is a great way.
Yes.
Yoga is constantly reinforcing mindful concepts. And a lot of people tend to be intimidated by yoga, but if you have never done a yoga class before, pull one up on YouTube and check
you can do it
out.
at home.
Yeah, get started that way. And one of the core principles of mindfulness and of yoga is the acceptance and non-judgment. And most yoga instructors are not judgmental. They're not worried about what's happening on the mat as long as you're trying. And that's what
they just want you to have a good experience while you're there. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I am a viewer at home, and maybe I'm a little overwhelmed because I'm just not sure how to get started in mindfulness. I don't really know what to expect. Maybe you could walk us through a couple steps of what you would do.
Sure. So let's work on taking a mindful moment together. Okay. So what I want you both to do is just kind of get grounded in your seat. Notice the chair supporting your body. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. Some people don't like to close their eyes, but if you can do that, that's a good thing to do. And what I want you to do is notice your breath. And I want you to bring your breath all the way down to your belly button. And just gently exhale. Just take a few really deep belly breaths. And the only thing you need to pay attention to right now is your breath. This might be the only time today or the only time this week where the only thing you had to do was focus on your breath. And as you're breathing, you might notice thoughts coming and going. And just notice those thoughts. You don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to attach to them. Just sort of let them come and go. Because this is just a short meditation, I'm going to bring you back to the room. If you want to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and then just gently flutter your eyes, you can come back. That was just a really quick mindful check-in, but we always have our breath.
And it's good to just stop and do that once in a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a frazzled morning because my kids got on the bus and my son was anxious all weekend about it, so that felt good to just
Yeah, I feel more relaxed
Take a
now than I did
second
before we started. Like I felt my jaw relax as we were sitting there.
Thanks for saying that. A lot of times we hold tension that we don't realize is there. And so when you go into a store, what do we do when we're waiting in line? We pull out our phones and start checking our phones, or at a stoplight. Instead of doing that, take that time, just sometimes it's just 5 or 10 seconds just to breathe. So we have these little breaks throughout the day. Let's take advantage of them.
Even just a short minute is good.
Yeah.
And like you said about the thoughts coming in, it's not a bad thing if a thought comes in. Just be aware of it. And
that it's there, and you don't have to do anything with it. That's so empowering. Just let it go.
That's another, I'm sure that's something that you can take with you to sessions with clients and things like that, that you can have a thought and it doesn't have to develop into anything. You can just sit with it.
Right, yeah.
So that's helpful, I think. All right, well, can you tell people where they can find you if they were interested in learning more or anything like that?
Sure. So I am a psychologist at Connellsville Counseling. We're located on South Pittsburgh Street across from Wesley Church. And there are several social workers, counselors, therapists here that have been trained in mindfulness, that utilize mindfulness in their practice, that we're always here to help. So if you've wanted to try therapy, we're here. You can give us a call. Our phone number is 724-626-8420. If you call, the receptionist can get you set up with an appointment.
Very cool. And I love that you said that other people are practicing it too. And I know that even in other counseling centers, it's just becoming much more popular to be mindful and to be aware of yourself and what's going on in the minute. So I think that is really, I think it's empowering for everybody.
It's empowering, and
Yeah.
everybody needs to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy about your wellness on the Yough business
Oh,
and what
thank
you're
you.
bringing to the town. And now I have another place to send people to that are
Yeah.
interested in wellness and mindfulness.
Yeah, so our Wellness on the Yough event, and then which is we have once a year, and then our Yough Gaining Holistic Living, which we're definitely going to practice a lot of different mindful. We'll have different mindful classes. It's going to basically the entire, I think, business is going to be around mindfulness, essentially.
Absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely. So thank you, Dr. Boyer, for joining us today and letting us come here and hang out and do some quick meditations.
Feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys again for another episode of Wellness Round the Yough. And thank you for letting us be your river guides to wellness.
River Guides out.